Hey, how's it going, everybody on YouTube? I've been waiting a long time to talk about this movie since I used its soundtrack for the crossover of Anime Mowgli and, well, Anne from Disney's Infabula. I've been waiting to talk about this movie for a long time, even though I know most of the actors are not around anymore. But this movie was, well, Filmination's very last movie, which, fun fact, only did two of the movies. The one I just talked about was Pinocchio, Emperor of the Night. Now I'm here to finally talk about the movie I've been waiting to talk about for a very long time. Which, fun fact, the film was released in 1989, but well, was released in 1993 VHS tape called Happily Ever After. And to make sure I don't get copyrighted by YouTube, I'll probably just show a few scenes of the movie. So this is technically like the sequel to the first film. I do know it has Phyllis Diller, Don DeLuise as the Tongan Mirror. There's I forgot what that other actor's name is. I do know Frank Welker is still around. Plays Batso. Ed Asner, R.I.P. for him. And he plays well, before Iago from Atlanta was the thing. He plays a Smoking Owl. There's Malcolm McDowell that plays this main villain. And name Laz, which is actually the evil queen's brother, and questions what happened to his sister, and he takes his revenge on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the Seven Dwarfs. They do not appear in this movie, but just most likely in the opening of the film. They get replaced by the Seven Dwarf Owls, which is a strange name for the characters. I mean, those of you probably forgot this movie was a thing, and it was fully animated by Filmation. Um, Let me just go ahead and explain the rest. Snow White is the main antagonist in this movie, and so is the handsome prince, who still doesn't have a name, by the way. He starts attacking Snow White and the prince, and she ends up at the same house that doesn't look like from the original Snow White. This one is supposed to be a sequel. Oh yeah, let me talk about the Seven Dwarf Owls. What you're seeing right there is Thunderella, that she can control her lightning powers. Craterina, that has the nature of animals. Muddy, that likes to build underneath on her ground. Sunny, which is the one with the onion head, has anger, similar to almost like Grumpy. Flora, which is the one with the flower power. And Moon Knight, which is, Moonbeam, that she has ability to have power at nighttime. Daytime, she stays asleep. So in this movie, we still want to find her handsome prince, who's held by this main bad guy, and that wants to lure her into the kingdom. Nathan meets Mother Nature. Yeah, she has the ability to create strange creatures, but not showing too much, so I don't want to get copied by YouTube's videos. To make a long story short, there's also that strange creature that follows them that looks like Orko's grandfather from He-Man, Masters of the Universe, which they call the Shadow Man, that follows them around but tries to help them.
I bet he works for Lord Malice.
He only speaks in weird mumbling voice. Lord Malice wants to turn Snow White into stone with a single little cloth off cape and dispose of the 7 dwarf owls. Oh yeah, and I forgot about the one that has water power. So, like I said, this movie is not the best film they did, but I do like some of the songs in it, including the song Do Magic of Your Own 2 Hands. I will not give too much away, those of you who haven't watched the movie yet. But in the end, that Thunder Rella uses her powers to defeat Olive, Lord Malice, and Snow White turns the upper hand and turns a bad guy into stone. And that weird creature you just saw, which they call the Shadow Man, is actually the prince the whole time, which Lord Malice turns him into a creature. And why he didn't destroy him in the first place leaves so many questions left unanswered. Also, there into the end of the movie, it shows its product placements of toys. So, yeah, and the film called Happily Ever After is a film that was released a long time ago. I used to watch this a lot more as a kid, but since I'm older now, we pretty much forgot this thing existed. It was released on DVD so long ago. I mean, I saw it at Best Buy and poof, that's it. It's long forgotten. Nobody knows else this movie existed. I would say this would have been Dom DeLuise's last performance, but I think it would have been his very last role before he passed away in 2009. Not the only time I would talk about him in most likely animated movies he's in. The film was only like an hour and 15 minutes. I would say the animation's not half bad, but they tried to make it look like Disney. You would sue the company for copying the story of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. And think it would be like a bad idea. And again, then didn't need a sequel, but it was wasted anyways. That's pretty much the reason why Happily Never After, or is the reason why it's forgotten. In Filmation, only did both movies, Pinocchio Emperor of the Night and this film. But almost sued the company for almost copying the original stories from their actual films. It's product placement. Heck, I do remember there was Happily Never After toys of the characters. and that's pretty much it. I would say it's not like a huge disaster film. Oh, more than that. And it shows like nearly almost the main heroes almost less in trouble with Lord Malice and his canine dogs attack them, and that's pretty much it. Or when he finds them at Mother Nature's kingdom and uses her powers against him. And when he turns into a dragon, he's pretty much no match against her powers. Lord Malice is kind of the best character in the movie. The rest of them are pretty much either completely useless or most of the time almost less helpful. But that's pretty much all I can say about Happily Ever After, or the movie that was released in 1989, actually. Not 1993. You know, it says the year on it. Let's just say it has like minor problems. And most likely, Scout the Owl tries to attack Snow White and only did it once and almost gets killed by Lord Malice by hanging him toward the cauldron and blowing him alive. And Batcel saves his life, and a few of those other weird creatures that attack the Seven Dwarf Fells. It did make me laugh a little bit. But again, I will not give too much away. Those of you who haven't watched the movie yet, check it out. You'll either like it or hate it for it existing. But I've been waiting to talk about this movie since I started YouTube in 2019. Nearly 5 years ago. So, that's all I can say about this movie. It does have lots of problems of it. But what can you do when they did their very last performance of animating a movie that's way older than I am? And yes, I have like a frog in my throat. Hardly nobody talks about this movie because it's easily forgotten. So, yeah, there's not much else to talk about this film. Just being called Happily Ever After is basically how it is. Not to mention there's a video game on Super Nintendo based on the film. I am not kidding. There is a Super Nintendo based off this movie. This long forgotten film. Go look it up. It existed. And you can play not only as Snow White, but the Shadow Man, aka the Prince. See you next time, folks.